All right, today we're diving into something pretty fascinating. Some might even call it radical. It comes from an article called Heart-Centered Healing. And trust me, it's going to challenge you to rethink where our health really comes from.
So, the article kicks off with this incredibly bold statement. Fix that and there is no disease ever. Whoa, right? I mean, that just immediately makes you lean in and go, fix what? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into.
Okay, but before we get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem they're talking about. And the article paints a picture of our modern world as this constant assault. This nonstop, fast-paced life that leads to this chronic stress that, let's be honest, most of us are probably way too familiar with.
And the thing is, the source argues this isn't just some abstract idea. This crisis mode we're living in, it actually shows up in our bodies. The article connects the dots between things like hypertension, autoimmune issues, cancer, all the way to anxiety and depression. It's framing them not as a bunch of separate problems, but as symptoms of one big, deep imbalance.
So that leads to this huge question, right? This is where the article really pivots. It's asking us, what if the cause isn't where we've been looking? What if we stopped focusing on all the external stuff for just a second and looked somewhere else, somewhere inside, for both the problem and the solution?
And that's where we get to the heart of the matter, literally. The core argument here is all about the immense and, kind of overlooked power of the human heart. We're not just talking about a pump that moves blood around. The article presents it as a primary center of intelligence in our bodies.
Now, to back this up, the article throws out some pretty wild numbers. Get this, it claims the heart's electrical field is 100 times stronger than the brain's. 100 times!
And if you thought that was a lot, hold on, it gets even crazier. The source says the heart's magnetic field is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain's. I mean, just think about that. It's pointing to this huge energetic potential that we might be completely ignoring. So, okay, we've got this superpower heart. The big question is, how do we actually use that power? Well, according to this article, the key is our emotions. It boils down every single feeling we have into just two fundamental states, two vibrations, if you will, that are constantly shaping our reality.
And you can see it laid out here pretty clearly. You've got fear on one side, that's all about contraction, it messes with your immune system, it leads to breakdown. But then you have love on the other side. And that's all about expansion, boosting creativity, enhancing your endurance, basically everything good.
And this is where we get to the article's biggest, most powerful claim. It basically says that your emotional state, that internal feeling, is the #1 thing affecting your health, more important than your diet or supplements or even your exercise routine. That's a huge statement.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little philosophical, right? A little out there. But the article actually points to research from the HeartMath Institute to back this stuff up, especially this idea of the heart being its own mini-brain.
So what in the world is a mini-brain? Well, the source says it's this super complex system of nerve cells right there in the heart. So advanced that it can apparently learn, remember, and even make its own decisions. And here's the real kicker. It claims the heart is sending more signals up to the brain than the brain is sending down to the heart.
And it just keeps getting more interesting. The article says this mini-brain is like our body's own personal pharmacy. It's producing its own neurotransmitters, things like norepinephrine and dopamine. And it even makes oxytocin, the love hormone, in amounts that are just as high as what the brain makes. Wow. Okay, so that's the theory, the why behind all this. But what do we actually do about it? Let's get practical. The article gives us 7 daily actions for what it calls heart-centered living. So, let's look at the first 4. These are kind of framed around work, but honestly, you could apply them anywhere. It's all about simple stuff, really. Thinking of people who've helped you and thanking them in your heart. Imagining your projects going perfectly, actually feeling what that success is like, and then acting from that feeling. And, just being kind.
And the last 3 are just as simple. You start your day with gratitude and a positive vision. You end your day by consciously letting go of any negativity. Don't take that stuff home with you. And the last one, the simplest one on the whole list, just smile.
So, what's the big idea here when you put it all together? The key takeaway seems to be that if we can just shift our focus, get out of our racing minds and into our powerful hearts, we can actually find and hold on to a sense of peace, even when the world around us is totally chaotic. And so the article leaves us with this one last, pretty deep question to chew on. Can we let go of our limiting beliefs and live a life of real compassion and connection? It's a huge thought, isn't it? It goes way beyond just feeling better and points to a way we could totally transform how we experience our lives. Something to think about. That's what we've got for you today. Thanks for joining me.